Oh, 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 oh.
We're in heaven.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 3.
Oh my God, 3. We made it. It's official.
We're real podcasters now. Episode 3.
Wow, who thought we would ever get this far?
I knew we would.
How was
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Yapville. Thanks for listening. This is Taryn.
This is Amanda, and we're here for spooky stories today.
This
My
is our
favorite.
This is our spooky story episode for Halloween.
How was your week?
It was good. I worked a lot. I went to a haunted corn maze with my friends. It was so much fun.
It was spooky.
And
you want to know how I'm getting old? I'm like out of shape, obviously, like whatever. But I knew my body would hurt from the corn maze because it was like a lot of it was like uphill and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was wearing combat boots. My feet were killing me. But the next day I woke up, my legs didn't hurt, nothing hurt. My hips hurt. I was like, oh my God, I'm a grandma. My hips hurt. But nothing else hurt my hips. So that's how. But yeah, the corn maze was really scary.
yeah, it was so much fun. I was like laughing so hard the entire time, but I was scared.
Taryn was like hunched over our friend Nikki, who's like 5 feet tall and like 100 pounds, and was like latched onto her because Nikki was not scared of anything. And Taryn was just cackling in her ear the entire
time. What else? I discovered that guy, this Krish.
Oh.
We're in heaven. I watched him for like 3 hours this weekend.
I've been playing simulator games.
Did you think something outside was on fire?
No.
Oh.
I'm trying to find my vape.
I played a lot of Supermarket Simulator in my tons of free time I have.
Oh my God. This weekend was like, I need to start like cleaning my house because I've been like living in boxes because I didn't know if I was going to keep my house or not during the divorce. So now I'm like, all right, I have to start making this feel like home again now that I am going to have the house. So want to know what I did this weekend to clean my house?
What?
Yesterday, I did nothing all day. I had no plans, nothing. So I was like, I'm going to clean. My like entryway when you first walk into my house has like stones. I got on my hands and knees and I used a scrub daddy and scrubbed that for like 3 hours. And I said, I'm done. And that's all I did.
That's amazing.
So the one section of my house is clean.
You got to start somewhere.
True.
You know what you need for that is one of those like handheld steam cleaners.
Mm-hmm.
I have one right now. It's my friend Dylan's. I'm borrowing it, but I had one. I'm like a chronic returner, and maybe I shouldn't be putting this out into the public, but part of it broke and it was like within the return time, so I returned it broken. Oops.
Oopsie, I didn't know. It came like that. So weird.
Well, do you want to get started with our first scary stories?
Our stories today are going to be, we had people write in.
So we had a few people write in. Amanda also has her own scary stories. She has like wild scary stories. And then we have just like a couple from Reddit. But we want to keep doing these scary stories. So hit us up. How old am I? Write in your scary stories at yapvillepod@gmail.com.
Yeah, because spooky season's all the time with us.
Yeah, literally. I feel like this would be a cool podcast if we did like our normal Reddit and then our last story each is like a spooky story.
I love spooky stories and I have so many I can tell you, and I'm going to share so many with you today.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm cursed.
She's cursed. So I went first the last 2 times. I don't know if you want to go first.
I can go first. But mine's just like personal experiences.
So do you want me to read the 2 stories I have from the write-ins first and then you can share yours?
Yeah.
Okay, so this first story is from one of my best friends, Martha. I was actually here for this. This had to be back in like 2012. So she wrote in, but to give a little context, we were at her ex-boyfriend's house, like his apartment, but this apartment was in the middle of the woods, and we live in upstate New York, so there's like a lot of woods near us. So middle of the woods, and the house was like connected by this closet, and on the other side there was like an older woman who lived, I think she was an older woman, a woman of some age on the other side, and she was the homeowner and rented out the other side of the apartment to these boys, if I'm remembering correctly. So one night they were having a party, and this is where Martha's story starts. Okay. I remember this because they were playing with the Ouija board, and I was like, it was like a bunch of girls playing with the Ouija board, and I was like, nope, I'm not touching that. Don't even look at me while you play that.
Smart girl.
Okay, so we were playing with the Ouija board in a really old house because there was a house party in the apartment on the side of it, but we were in the original house because the owner was actually in the hospital. So all the girls went over to the quiet, dark, empty old house through a closet you had to walk through to get there to play the Ouija board.
Wait, this was at a house party? Like, people are just gonna do a Ouija board at an old, creepy, scary house?
Yeah.
Why?
So all of the girls went over to the quiet, dark, empty old house through a closet you had to walk through to get there to play the Ouija board. And it was actually moving around and crazy. There was a piano in there, and we asked the spirit if it liked the piano and what its favorite composer was. It said Bach, which was pretty crazy. And then actually the next day, one of the girls that slept over went out into the little graveyard that was in the yard, in like their backyard, because it was a really old house, and the spirit said his name was Stephen, and the same name was on a gravestone in the little graveyard, which was crazy. Now, here's the really scary part. Then when I was coming back to the little apartment side where the party was, you have to go through a closet and walk through all the coats to get there. There was no light on until you got to the other door where all the people were. So I went in there to go through, and it was dark, and pushed around the coats out of the way, and it felt like I bumped into somebody who was coming from the other side. So I was like, oh, sorry. And as I went to open the door to let the light in, nobody was in there with me. It was crazy. I definitely bumped into somebody in that closet, which I remember this night. This had to be like 12 years ago.
You were there?
Yeah, I was at the party. Remember, I didn't want to play with the Ouija board?
Yeah.
I was like, don't look at me, I'm scared.
No.
But Martha's like brave.
You were there for when she like...
I wasn't there when she bumped into it.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I think I stayed on the party side. I really can't remember. But I remember it was like a party, and they were trying to play with the Ouija board, and it was too loud, so they went to the other side. Now I feel like I remember them walking into the closet. But yeah, she always tells this story. She felt like she bumped into a human and then realized nobody was in there.
That's
and the
terrifying.
craziest part, like about the Ouija board saying he was Steven, and then there was like a tiny little graveyard, like 5 headstones out there. So it wasn't like a huge graveyard.
That is crazy.
And one of the names was Steven.
She touched Steven.
Yeah, she touched Steven.
Scary. I'm fine with ghosts, whatever. They can be here, but don't let me see you or touch you or anything. That's too much.
Way too much.
That's fucking terrifying.
Okay, do you want to do one of yours and then I'll read the other one?
Well, on the premise of Ouija boards, on the topic of Ouija boards, I went to a sleepover once when I was a kid, and we played with the Ouija board, and like nothing happened, whatever. I was telling my mom after the sleepover that we played with the Ouija board, and she like stopped, and she's like, Amanda, don't ever touch those. And I was like, why? Nothing even happened. And now my mom, I don't even know if she believes in like ghosts. She's also scared of her own shadow. She's like, I don't want to know anything about anything. I want to be in bliss. Like, what is it called?
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. So she told me that when she was a kid, and I confirmed this with my aunt, because I was like, maybe she's like over exaggerating this, because this is weird. This is like, it's not weird, it's just crazy. So when she was a kid, she played with the Ouija board, and she was in my grandmother's house in her attic, and she did the whole thing. She had like candles lit, the lights were out, in the attic by herself, and she was just asking like, is anyone there, is anyone there? And a guy came through, and the guy that came through was a kid that she had gone to high school with. Currently she was like in high school, and he had died. So she was like, oh my god, I'm in contact with our classmate who died. So she was talking to him, and my mother's sister tried to get into the attic and be like, what are you doing? And as soon as she walked into the attic, the planchette started like freaking out. And it was like, my aunt said it was spelling out hate you like over and over again. And the planchette went flying across the room, and the candles blew out, and the door shut and locked. And they were locked in the attic. And my mom and my aunt were like freaking out, like knocking on the door, like screaming for help. And they could not open the attic door. My grandmother was like trying to open the door because she heard them screaming for help. And she was trying to like open the door, and no one could get the door open. So my grandfather, who was like 6'4", like he was a big dude, he was like trying to slam the door down. and no one can get it. So finally my grandmother like screamed like, whatever's in here, get the fuck out of my house, blah, blah. And the door slowly opened.
Stop it.
Yeah. So, and my mom would never, so, you know, my mom can be an exaggerator just like me. We're Leos. So I talked to my aunt about it and she's like, no, like it really happened. She was like, the planchette freaked out the minute I walked into the room and it went flying right past my head and the door slammed shut behind me. My mom's like, never touch those ever. Oh, and scary. I never did after that. I remember I went to another like party and they were all playing with the Ouija board and I sat in the other room. I said, I'm not being a part of this.
No.
I never messed around with that shit ever again. And thank God I didn't, because I feel like the ghosts love me.
This reminds me, when Martha, who I was just telling the story about, her and I lived in an apartment together, and just like a 2-family apartment. We had like upstairs neighbors, and then it was us on the first floor. And the guy I was dating at the time was like really into ghosts, and he had a spirit box, which is, if you don't know what a spirit box is, it's a AM transmitter, and you like connect with the other side and like words will pop through.
It's like radio transmissions.
Yeah.
It goes to like different radio frequencies.
Yep, that's it. So him and his best friend were playing with it, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. And they kept going into our basement in the apartment, which was like a finished basement, where our washer and dryer were down there. And when we were upstairs they had like the spirit box in my room, and it literally said my name. We all stared at each other like, did you just hear that? And my name is Taryn. Why would that come in on a radio transmitter?
Scary. Mm-mm.
Yeah. I was like,
I gotta go.
Yeah. That was really scary. Moving on to our next story. Okay, this one comes from my friend Kate. She's super cool. She's like really into astrology and all that cool shit. So I know, and she's like really into creative writing. So
she's like a spiritual girl.
Yeah, she's definitely a spiritual girly. She's so knowledgeable with astrology.
Oh my God, I want her to read my chart for me.
She will. Okay. Oh, she says, I have a few stories, but here's one about the haunting in my house when I was in 8th grade. So back around the time I was in 7th/8th grade, circa 2004, some strange things were happening in my childhood home. A lot of strange things happen here, including strange Ouija board sessions and hearing disembodied voices. Well, obviously she's not scared of a Ouija board. This story, however, starts with my dad. He told us one day that he woke up in the middle of the night because he felt the hair on his toes being pulled. His words, not mine. And when he opened his eyes, he saw me standing at the bottom of his bed. He proceeded to ask, "Hey, hon, what's wrong?" But instead of answering, I walked towards my mother's side of the bed. He proceeded to ask a few more times what was wrong/going on, and my dark, shadowy figure never responded. It only continued to walk towards my mother. Before it reached where my mother's head was, he turned on the bedside lamp and the figure disappeared. Then, a few nights later, my mom said she saw a young girl in their bedroom again and she thought it was me, but she turned on the light and the figure disappeared. Weeks go by and we kind of forget about the whole thing. Until one morning, I woke up around dawn. I remember the house was beginning to lighten with the sunrise. Just to describe the layout of my room a little, my bedroom door was directly across from my parents' room, and I could see straight into the hallway from my bed. I also shared a room with my younger sister, 7 years younger than me. She slept on the bottom bunk, and I slept on the top. Well, I wake up and look across the hall and see a shadowy figure standing in the doorway of my parents' room. I look at it, not understanding what I'm seeing at first, and it doesn't move. It does almost look like my shadow makes me think this must be the same thing my parents have seen. I was always into the paranormal. I would always watch the haunted shows on the History Channel when they were on. So I was super intrigued, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing a ghost. How cool, went through my head. But the longer I stared at it, this overwhelming sense of fear fell over me. I had the thought of, wait, is this thing looking into my parents' room or looking directly at me? Now my adrenaline was pumping as I realized it must be staring back at me, and I cowered under my blankets. After a few moments of silence, I peeked out from under the covers to see the top of someone's head right next to my bed.
Girl, no. Freaking
out, I go back under my covers and start whispering, go away, you can't hurt me. Somehow I must have fallen back asleep because I wake up again and it's completely morning and my parents are going about their morning routines. It was the most profound paranormal experience I think I've ever had, and I can still picture it so perfectly so many years later. Another story from this house that we associate with this entity was maybe a year later. My mom was sick with undiagnosed endomyosis. I don't know what that word is. I think it's endomyosis. And she was in a lot of pain. She was woken during the night to a female presence beside her bed that was only a glowing light. It spoke to her and said, "My name's Julia, and you are going to be all right." My mom was fine. We then chalked up any paranormal stuff happening to this house to Julia and happily cohabited with the spirit. We never saw her again, but we would talk to her when we heard strange sounds or noticed things out of place. And like an, okay, thank you, Julia, to cope with whatever phenomenon was happening. That is so scary.
That's
as a
kind of
kid.
sweet, though.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Julia was like, I'm not here to hurt you.
She's so Julia.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm fine with, like, any presences or, like, spirits that, like, I know aren't gonna harm me or, like, fuck with me. They're just there. Like, I'm in their space, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's fine. We can share the space. Just don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Which leads me, my house growing up was, like, crazy. My mom said that when she bought the house, like, back in, like, the fucking 80s, the woman that she bought it from was, like, really old. She said that she never used the upstairs. When they bought the house, there was, like, wildlife upstairs. Like, there was, like, trees and shit upstairs. So she only stayed downstairs, which was my sister's room, and that was where everything happened. But I would be too scared in my house, like, to even, like, get a glass of water in the middle of the night. I'd, like, have to call one of my friends and be like, can you just stay on the phone with me while I go downstairs?
That was, sometimes I need to call you or Dylan if I have to move my car into the driveway and Colin's asleep or not home. Because I'm so scared.
You used to have to do that at your apartments, too. You would be like,
Yeah.
I have to do laundry.
Oh my gosh.
You can even talk to me.
Yeah, I was so scared of old apartments.
But I'm just going to tell you a few instances that we had. My sister's room was directly below mine, so I would hear stuff all the time, especially when my sister moved out. I would hear shit banging constantly in that room. I think the ghost, whoever was there, was mad that she left. But when she moved out the first time, my sister had this headboard that had like drawers in it, and I would hear them opening and slamming all night.
That is, would your parents hear it?
No, but my room was directly below hers, and like the floor was like super thin. I could hear my sister having a conversation, just like, so I would hear everything. But my sister, we're cursed. Me and my sister, I think, are cursed, and it only happens when we're together. When she was in high school, she was trying to go to sleep, and she was in her haunted room. And she was trying to sleep, and she was about to fall asleep, and she felt a thud at the end of her bed. And she had a big fat ass bunny at the time. Like, he was huge. So she thought that was like the exact sound it made was like when the bunny thumps. Mm-hmm. So she thought maybe he just like thumped and it like shook the bed.
Yeah. That poor bunny. He was in her room.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He was like in a cage, but she just was trying to justify it anyway.
But I feel bad for him with everything that happened in that room.
I know that maybe
saw some shit.
That bunny was mean too. That's probably why. So it thumped the bed, have it by her feet. So she like pulled her feet closer to her, so like she was in like a fetal position, and she just laid there for a minute, and then it happened right next to her head on her pillow, and
I'm getting chills.
she
It's so crazy.
jumped. She was like, obviously I watch scary movies, so I know not to like put my foot down, something's gonna grab my feet. She said that she stood up on her bed and she jumped to the doorway, and my dad was still awake at the time, so she ran into the kitchen and was like, Dad, I need you to sleep in the living room tonight.
Aww.
So he slept in the living room. But she also told me that later on in life, when she was older, like in her 20s, her husband now, he had lived at my parents' house until they bought their house, just for like a few months. But he confirmed too that in the middle of the night, my sister's a shopping girl. Like, she buys so many clothes, whatever. So she has a closet full of clothes that have tags in them. So in the middle of the night, he would hear, it sounded like someone was running around in her closet, running their fingers through all the tags on the clothes. Like, someone was just like walking through and like putting their finger out and moving all the tags around.
I don't like that.
For me, it was always 3 knocks, and one happened when you were there.
Mm-hmm. And I knew her house was haunted. This was like probably 2011. I knew her house was haunted, and I just remember being like, if
I have to go to sleep first.
Yeah. Literally, it was like, I have to go to sleep first, but you can't leave me. Like, because we were going up and down between Amanda's bedroom and the living room. I can't believe I said I have to fall asleep first.
No, I feel like that too at sleepovers when I was a kid. I'd be like, go to bed first, go to bed first. It was me, Taryn, and our friend Courtney. And my sleep schedule was really fucked up. Like, I would go to bed at like 10 a.m. and sleep until like 6 p.m. So my parents had just left for work, so it was the morning. And we were on the couch, but I had the recliner out on the couch and my feet were sticking straight out. And my parents had just left for work, so I said bye to them. So it was daytime. And this seems to only happen in the fucking daytime for me. But I was just about to fall asleep, and Courtney and Taryn were right next to me, And as I was like drifting off into sleep, right underneath me, it shook the whole couch. I'm like surprised it didn't wake you up. Right underneath me, it was like bang, bang, bang. And like my eyes jut open and I'm just like, just go to bed. Just fall asleep. Just fall asleep. Just fall asleep. And eventually I just did.
That almost makes me wonder if you were lucid dreaming.
I don't know.
Because your mind is so used to random shit like that happening in the house.
It was fucking weird.
Didn't you have a story when your uncle had to like remove part of the floor?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that too. Because the other time my parents had left for work again. It was like 8 a.m. It was like literally daytime. And I went downstairs in the kitchen to get something, and you have to walk past the bathroom to get to the kitchen. So I walk past the bathroom, going into the dining room to get into the kitchen. And as soon as I passed the door in the bathroom, like the loudest it's ever been, it was like 3 bangs against the wall. And that's about when I was like, hello? Because it was so loud. I was like, there has to be someone there. Like I said hello, and I turned around and I didn't hear anything. So I just kept walking. I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe something fell, but it was just 3 perfect knocks against the wall. And then, not to get really sad, but once my dad died in the house. Everything didn't seem creepy in the house anymore. I don't know if it was like a placebo effect, like he's protecting the house, but yeah, the house doesn't feel like that at all anymore. Like I'm not scared to go to that house alone anymore. I used to be, which leads me to when my dad died. My mom got some work done to the house that needed to be done. So she got her bathroom downstairs remodeled, and my cousin was redoing it. So he was installing the plumbing. So he had a hole into the bathroom leading into the basement. Like if you can look down on the hole and it's the basement. And he had a light on in the basement. So he was doing something in the bathroom leading into the basement from the hole. And he kept seeing something, like a shadow, walk by the light. The light kept dimming. So he thought Stewie, my mom's cat, was in the basement. So he like got up. He was like, God damn it, the cat's in the basement. And he turned around and Stewie was sitting there. He was like, nope, definitely wasn't the cat.
I wonder if it was like a mouse or something, or was it?
It was big.
That's so scary.
Because it was like a hanging light.
Maybe you guys have rats in your basement.
Yeah, baby. Big ass fucking rats.
Bunnies.
Yeah, the ghost of Buffy, the evil bunny. When my dad did die, this is gonna be sentimental.
Okay.
But when my dad died, my mom had told me that she would always talk to him and be like,
I remember this.
she'd always be like, Mike, I wish you can just hold me just one more time. I just want to be held. I just miss you and I just want to know you're here. And the one night she had fallen asleep and she felt someone go into bed with her and wrap their arms around her. And for a minute, she was like, I thought like it was real. Like I thought it was all just a nightmare. And she felt something hold her hand. And when she woke up, because she was sleeping, but when she woke up, she said her hand was like twitching and like moving, like someone was holding her hand. And she was like, I felt so great ever since then. And I was like, see, he is there. And I still do. When I go to my mom's house, I'll smell his cologne or something. Like it hits me strong. Like I'll be walking and I'm like, Dad, like, holy shit, you are Givenchy. He was a fancy man. But I still smell it sometimes real strong when I'm on the back porch, which is weird because a psychic medium told me that he hangs out on the back porch all the time. That's where I smell it. Like
Can
someone just sprayed
smell it? Can other people smell it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm always alone when I smell it. But those are my sentimental stories. My house doesn't feel creepy anymore. My mom's house feels fine. But me and my sister are still haunted.
That's so sweet, the story about your mom and dad. What about Allison's picture?
Okay, so me and my sister had like a Halloween from hell. It was before she had her kids, so it was a while ago because Kennedy's going to be 13. Jesus. So it was a long time ago. But we got really into Ghost Adventures, that show where like they're all like douchebags. You know the one?
What's that guy's name?
Zach Baggins.
Yeah.
Baggins? Oh my God, we loved it. We thought it was so funny. They'd be like, come on, bro, scratch me. Anyway, we were addicted. We couldn't stop watching it. We spent the entire month watching it. But I think us watching it so much, like, lightened the veil to the other side or something because weird shit started happening. We would hear glass shattering in the other room, and Allison had 2 cats at the time. So we would, like, Allison's my sister, by the way. We would, like, run into the kitchen, like, oh my God, they knocked a glass over and there'd be nothing shattered. The windows would rattle all the time. Like There was no wind. The windows were just rattling. And then the one night, my sister and her husband had gone to bed, so it was just me out in the living room. And being the scene kid that I was just taking pictures on my webcam on my laptop, and I was just kept taking them. They were just selfies, and in 2 of them, you can see my sister has the pictures, and I will have to ask her. Like, for real this time. Like, you need to find them.
Yeah, so we can post them on the Instagram.
Yes. You could see in the background in two of the pictures. One of the pictures, it's like faded in. And then the other 2, you can definitely see it. It's like 2 people behind me smiling. Like, they're like trying to get in the picture, like smiling. Their faces are pressed up against each other.
Are they in a window?
No. They're just behind me.
Oh my God.
Their faces are pressed up against each other. They're like smiling with their teeth. And then they're gone. And all the other ones. And I stared at these pictures for hours. I was like, what is that?
Did you notice, like, in the moment?
No.
You noticed, like, after?
When I was looking through the pictures I took, I was like, what is that? And I kept zooming in on it. I was like, maybe it was from the TV. But I was like, trying to remember if I even had the TV on, which I think I did. But
what would it
there
be
was
reflecting
nothing.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I have no idea. It was weird. My sister still has the pictures in her email, she said. So I'll have to really press her on that because it was fucked up. So once that picture was taken, we're like, let's hold off on the ghost stuff for now. Also, my sister had just found out she was pregnant, but I don't know what time period this was. It was recently from when that stuff happened. I don't know if it was in October or not. I don't remember, but she was getting her nursery ready for my niece, and she was still working at the time. But she came home from work the one day, and leading into the nursery, there was three claw marks into the wall. They're up high, so like no animal could have done it. And she's tried to spackle over it several times, and they still are there. Like, I literally was just there like a few weeks ago. They're still there. She's like, Amanda, I filled that like 4 times. Like, I don't understand.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
So scary. She said when she was pregnant, really, really weird stuff would happen to her. Like, she was like fucked up.
Didn't something happen with a shower curtain?
No.
I don't know what I'm thinking of.
But she would see, because my sister's husband's grandparents lived in that house and they died in that house, and she would see them all the time. And she said she would like go into certain rooms and the lights would dim. Actually, speaking of her being pregnant, the one time I went to her house, we were just hanging out. She had no kids at the house. It was literally just me and my sister. And we've never been alone together. I can't even tell you in how long. So we were alone in her house. The whole house was dark. We were only sitting in the kitchen with the one light on in the kitchen. And my sister had just spotlessly cleaned her house. So everything was perfectly placed, whatever. And we're just chatting. We're yapping in the kitchen, and we hear music going off. And we both just like, look at each other like, what is that? And so she creeps into the living room and peeks around the corner. One of the kids' toys is sitting perfectly in the center of the living room, and it's just going off. And she looks at me. She's like, it's you. This only happens when you're here.
So funny.
Okay. I'll just say my one other story. This is the one that our friend Justin wrote in, and he wanted me to tell this story. It's so scary, guys. So like, brace yourselves. It's terrifying. It's the scariest thing that's ever happened to me.
Are you being sarcastic?
You'll see. So, like I said before earlier, my room was above my sister's, and my grandma one year, I guess, bought me these dolls that when they hold hands, they sing. So the one day my sister goes to my parents and is like, guys, I hear chanting. I hear like chanting happening. And my mom was like, okay, whatever. And she goes into my sister's room and she can hear it. And she's like, Mike, but my dad, she's like, Mike, I actually do hear chanting. And then he listens and he's like, holy shit. So my mom said, it sounds like it's coming from the basement. And my dad, no, my mom's scared of her own shadow. Literally. She's terrified of everything. And my dad was like a huge horror movie fanatic. That's all he would watch is horror stuff and sci-fi stuff. But she said, it sounds like it's coming from the basement. And he said, I'm not fucking going down there. So of course my mother went down to the basement. She came back up. She says, it's nothing. I can't hear it down there. So they're like trying to figure out where this chanting is coming from. But now everyone's like freaked out because it sounds fucked up.
You were there?
Yes.
This was in the house, right?
It was creepy. It was like, na, 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 na,
was it HOTTOGO?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's actually what it was. So they're trying to figure it out. Well, my mom went outside and she was like looking around the house. She finds 2 dolls outside my sister's window. And because they were like out there overnight, I must have fucking thrown them out the window. And I was like, I don't know, for some fucking reason. Because my room was directly above my sister's. They just went right down to her window. And because stayed overnight, they had like dew and stuff in them. So they were like,
Oh my God. Wait,
it was
I thought your bedroom faced the front of the house.
no.
Oh, okay.
So it was funny because they were like hold hands and sing the ABCs, but it would be like ABC. So they were all fucked up. And
Oh my God.
yeah, that was my
That
haunted
is so
dolls.
crazy.
I don't know what possessed me to throw them out the window, but that's why Justin thinks it's so funny. He's just picturing me as a kid just being like, I don't want to play with this. Just throwing it out the window.
You remember when me and Courtney were hanging out and we spilled wax all over your upstairs bathroom?
Yes.
You were so mad at us.
I was like, guys, how do you fucking even get this out? How are you supposed to get wax out? Like, not like candle wax, like wax you wax your body with.
Is it still there?
Yeah, girl. We got most of it, but there's like, and at this point, it's like black. Because it was like 20 years ago.
I know how to get it out.
Oh.
Just put like olive oil on the ground and rub it. It'll come out.
Literally most of it's gone. I think there's like one spot that's just like a little black line.
That is so funny.
Yeah, you guys spilled it all over and you were hee hee hee. I'm like, yeah,
You
real
were
funny
so
because it's
mad.
not your house.
Dude, I get so paranoid about when I wax my eyebrows. I like have to keep the door shut because I'm like, one of my cats is gonna get wax all over them. All right. Guys, honestly, this was a personal goal of mine to get Amanda on the podcast sharing her scary stories.
I think that was the majority of them. I don't think that I really have any others. Watch like one pop in my head and be like, I should have said that.
Well, we always have next episode.
That's true.
But now we're gonna do a couple Reddit scary stories. This one is like really cute. I actually replied to it. Okay, so this one is coming from Paranormal Encounters from Chillerific. Bizarre occurrence a week ago. Ghost cat and litter box? I was laying in bed with my 2 cats and partner. There is a room with a bathroom attached next to the bed, and in the room are 2 litter boxes. I suddenly heard a cat in the litter boxes, the same sounds I hear daily, and thought one of the cats is in the litter box. But then I looked at the cats on the bed with me and realized that was not possible because both cats were next to me. My head was so confused. It sounded perfectly normal, and the sound continued. Suddenly, both cats noticed too. They perked up and started toward that direction. One cat ran under the bed. The other one, who was the bold, aggressive one, jumped out of the bed after the sound stopped and cautiously slowly peered around the corner of the bathroom. Then he went up and sniffed the litter box. My partner did not hear it due to another white noise sound. He finds the idea that it is anything paranormal preposterous. There is a skylight about 12 feet above the litter box, and his theory is that there was an animal on it and the sound was bouncing down onto the litter box. But I said no way. The sound was too realistic. It was the exact sound of a cat scooping litter, coming right from where the boxes are. And the cats were spooked and perceived it coming from the boxes. They were looking in that direction. We had a very beloved young cat die suddenly and tragically from FIP in January 2022. We got our current cats while still very much grieving the previous one. I do not otherwise believe in ghosts or anything. I would if there were clear and credible evidence. I am not really entertaining the idea it was him. At the time, I was so freaked out that I hid behind the bed on the opposite side, and it was my cats who entered the area before me to investigate. I am 100% sure there was no other cat or animal in the home. Of all things a ghost would do, using the litter box? Honestly, I've been creeped out, but nothing else has happened since then. So, I'm like, okay, that was really freaking weird, but shrug emoji? I would rather ghosts not be real because that would be scary. So hopefully there's some explanation to this, but this is one of the few complete head scratchers I've experienced. So I actually commented and they responded to me. I said, also scared of ghosts, love hearing ghost stories, but I never want to see one. With that being said, when I was younger, my childhood dog and cat passed. I'd see them out of the corner of my eye in my house. My soul cat passed in January of 2023. I haven't dreamt or seen him, which makes me sad. I hope it happens one day, but with that being said, I've gotten a few little signs from him. Just last week, I decided to take a day off work and was napping in my living room on the couch. I was woken up by a breath in my ear. I was home alone. Not really though, because I have 5 cats, but my boyfriend was at work. They were all sound asleep. I want to think it was my soul kitty. I realized after my head was asleep on the cushion we had him put down on. I think it was him saying hello. And then I said, I think it was your kitty saying hello, not mine. Opie said, I'm sorry you lost your kitty. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? I still tear up about losing mine nearly 3 years later. Just remember you gave him a good life and he was lucky to have someone who loved and took care of him.
Oh my God.
How would sound bounce off the 12-foot high skylight into the litter box?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Is that even physically possible?
I don't fucking know. I'm not a physicist.
But I had a Rottweiler and a cat when I was younger at my mom's house, and they were both put down, and I would literally always see and hear them in this one hallway, this tiny hallway in the house. I'd see them out of the corner of my eye. It was crazy.
When my dog died when I was younger, we had to put him down. That same thing would happen. I would hear his nails running on the hardwood. I would hear it sometimes.
That's crazy.
This reminded me, when my mom went to a psychic medium a few years ago, she said that Rufus, our childhood dog, actually came through and was really happy that my mom kept his water bowl. Also, another psychic medium said that when my dad died, that Rufus was the one to greet him.
Oh.
I was like, not his mother? Our childhood dog?
I mean, I hope Louie's the one that greeted me.
Right.
I definitely think it was their dog.
Yeah, that's...
Or their cat visiting.
That's really sweet.
That is also so sad it passed from FIP. That is such a hard... I wonder if it was Siamese. Because isn't that's such a... Or, I'm thinking... Yeah, FIP. Anyways.
That was really sweet, though. That wasn't that spooky. That was sweet.
No, it was sweet. Sentimental. Do you have a spooky Reddit story?
I do have one. This is from Ghost Stories by Blue Bayou Banshee. And it's titled, Who's Jumping in My Bed? This experience happened in November 2011. One day I was sitting in my living room just watching television and I felt small shakes. I stopped for a minute and thought it could have been anything. Then I noticed they got a little more harder and kind of like a rhythm. It clicked. My daughter must be jumping in my bed. So I walked down the hall into the room to tell her to stop. When I remembered she wasn't home, she was at school. I opened the door and saw nothing. I went back to the living room and a few minutes later, the same thing. I walked again to check and still nothing. But this time, I noticed the bed was messed up like someone was jumping in it. This didn't scare me at all. It actually brought a smile to my face. It happened on and off until my daughter got home from school. A few days later, after it would happen, I told a friend about it until he didn't believe me until he was there when it happened. I told him I told you so. He laughed and said, well, at least whoever it is having fun. Days later, I had a friend over that had a recorder and he took some EVPs. We listened on playback and you can clearly hear a young girl giggling. I never found out who she was or anything, but she made her presence known. She liked to play hide and seek on my things and liked to run up and down the halls. But as quickly as she came, she left. She brought a peace in the house, though, and I think she enjoyed our company. I just hope she found whatever she was looking for.
Oh, she was just totally fine with a ghost or some kind of entity just messing up the bed multiple times?
Girl, I'm sorry. Like I said,
some people just don't. They just are like totally fine with it.
I don't care like if something's in my house and like wants to live with me, just like don't scare me. But if I hear a little girl giggling, I'm moving out.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Especially running up and down the hallways. Girl, bye. If I'm walking down the hallway and something's running towards me, I'm selling the house immediately. As is. Everything inside, you can have it all. Bye. I'm out. That's too much. OP's just like, oh, she's having fun.
Yeah, you have to be like really in tune with all that and like not scared. I just thought our sign-off story can be the story I just remembered.
Okay.
So we live in upstate New York, like I said earlier, and when I was in high school, my friends and I would drive around all night. Like we had two friends who had
this story.
We had two friends that had a car and we would drive around all night. So about like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes from here is an abandoned tuberculosis center in Galway, New York. You can look it up. They do tours.
It's like a homestead, right? Or no?
What does that mean?
Isn't that what it's called? Like homestead something?
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure. So there's an abandoned tuberculosis center and my friends and I went there one night and there was 2 carfuls of us teenagers. The first time I was too scared. A guy decided to stay in the car with me and we just drove around. So then like a few weeks later, we go back and I was like, I'm going to do it. And then we get there and I was like, nope, can't do this. So my like best guy friend at the time, Zach, and I stayed behind in the car and everybody else went in. No, this was a different Zach. Not Alyssa, Zach.
Oh.
Yeah, this
Shout out different Zach.
I haven't talked to him in like 15 years, but he was the best. So Zach and I stay in his car. I remember we turned the car off, we laid our chairs back, and we were just gonna talk and like look at the sky until everybody came back out. So our like friends sent us pictures from inside. So like inside it's all graffiti, people go in there and drink. I'm sure there's homeless people in there, and people also have said that they heard loud sounds. And like I said before, there's tours that go in and stuff. So it's like completely abandoned in the middle of the woods on this like, what's the word that starts with an S? That means like nothing's around.
Secluded?
On this like secluded road. So we literally have to park on the side of the road. There's no like parking lot or anything. And there's also like a groundskeeper who lives in a house next door, but there's nothing around from what I remember. So Zach and I are leaning back in the car. I think our friends are like sending us pictures. We're waiting for them to come back because I was too scared to go in. And then all of a sudden we hear like, it feels like, it sounds like something like rusty. If someone was taking like a knife or like a piece of like a metal hanger and just like going against the car, just like scratching against the side of the car. As we're in the car, car's off, and we were like, what the fuck is that? So I'm like, all right, let's drive around. Like, I don't know what the fuck that was. Because all the lights were off, but we didn't see anybody near the car. So Zach goes to turn the car on, and the car's dead. So we're like out here in the middle of nowhere, dead car. And we call our friends. We're like, we think there's somebody near the car. The car's dead. You guys have to come back out here right now. So they come back out, and one of our friends like slams on the car, which we kind of like knew that was going to happen because, you know, goofy teenagers, and we screamed. And then we didn't have cable jumpers from the other car. So we had to drive all the way back to the town we're from, like 40 minutes, and then drive all the way back to Galway, which we were like, 40 minutes away. It took a long time. I didn't stick around. I went with the car that was going back because I was so scared, but yeah, that was fucking horrifying.
Was there any like damage to the car? Like, was the scratch marks in the car?
I can't remember. I don't know if we even looked, honestly. We were so scared. We were literally just laying there and then hearing scratching against. We weren't parked near the trees. There was like grass in between us and the trees. Unexplainable. What would that be?
Right.
And then his car being dead?
The ghost sucked up.
It's almost like the fucking movie I watched yesterday. What's it called?
When the lights... Don't turn the lights out?
Don't let them in?
Don't let...
Hold on, I'm going to look it up on my Letterboxd.
Follow us on Letterboxd.
Yeah, follow us on Letterboxd. Don't turn out the lights. That was really good. I love, like, modern day campy, silly movies.
My dad told me something similar because there was a while I fell down a rabbit hole about that, like, homestead, that, like, tuberculosis place, because it is, like, one of the most haunted places around here. And my dad had told me that he went there when he was younger. With my aunt's husband now. They all went, and something kind of like that happened. He went with my Uncle Richard, my aunt's husband, and my dad, and they were like in their 20s. My Uncle Richard stayed back at the car, like you. He was scared. He didn't want to go in. So he just stayed back, whatever. He was standing outside the car, and he heard a loud sound that made them all come running out and see what it was. And there was a huge fucking dent in the roof of their car. But there was like no trees or nothing. There was just a giant dent in the roof of the car, and they left. They said, fuck this.
That is so crazy to hear after my experience. That's insane. So it is called Saratoga County Homestead, and you can look it up on Wikipedia if anyone's interested.
Does it say it's haunted?
It says it was opened in 1914 and treated patients for tuberculosis until 1960. Visitors of the building point to the things left behind: beds, books, kitchen supplies, medical supplies, etc. This would be a really good place. I don't know if anyone's going to hear this one day who does like urban exploring.
Let's go.
Oh, fuck no.
But how about if this podcast gets 100 likes? Just kidding.
Hell no.
We'll have our first recording of us ghost hunting in the homestead.
No, this is a Reddit podcast, not a ghost hunting podcast.
Let's turn it into that.
I'm here for all the scary stories. I am not.
Okay, I'll go in.
Like, if
you can stay in the car.
If you were like, I'll give you $5 million and all your cats will live forever if you spend one night in here, I literally don't think I could do it.
Not spend the night, just like go in for an hour.
Alone? No.
Not alone.
With 10 people, yeah.
Well, just me.
No. I would need Nikki.
Shout out Nikki.
I'll go in only with Nikki. I need to clone her so I can have one in front, one behind.
Right, because she's not fearful of anything.
Protecting me from all sides. I feel like there's something else I want to say, but I don't remember.
Let us know if you want us to go into the haunted homestead.
Yeah, fuck that.
Actually, I heard that recently that the groundskeeper will like chase you out with a gun, so maybe it's not the best.
Okay, urban explorers don't go there.
My friend Megan is from Galway, and I think she had mentioned something because, like I said, I fell down a rabbit hole, so I hyperfixate on it, and I'm like, "Have you heard of the homestead? Have you heard?" So I think
she went.
I think no, I don't think she went.
What about Kyle? Has he gone?
No, I think they did, but nothing happened. But I think Megan told me like just a few years ago that like that guy would come out with like a shotgun and be like, "Don't go in there," because it's like dangerous now because the floors are like falling apart and shit.
We should do an episode of haunted places in New York because there's also the Troy Cemetery
And Vale Cemetery.
Yeah. I have stories from both of those.
Vale Cemetery, I hear, is like one of the most haunted cemeteries. You can Google this. Vale Cemetery in Schenectady, New York, is one of the most haunted places in like America.
And so is the one in Troy with Uncle Sam.
Oh yeah.
What's it called?
I don't know. But Vale Cemetery, apparently the statue bleeds.
No, that's the one in Troy.
It bleeds blood out of its eyes.
Yeah, that's the one in Troy.
The Mary statue.
I think so. Stand by.
The eyes.
Oakwood Cemetery in Troy.
Will ooze green slime.
Okay, I do have a really quick story about Vale Cemetery.
Vale Cemetery is fucked up.
Oh wow! Did you know Fred Astaire is buried there?
Who?
Fred Astaire is buried in Oakwood Cemetery.
I don't know who that is.
He was like a dancer. Oh, I'm kidding, guys. This is Oakwood Cemetery in freaking LA.
I've heard fucked up things about Vale. I've heard that people would see people like in cloaks walking around there doing rituals. They would find like bones the night after and like bloody knives and shit. Like they're doing rituals in the cemetery.
Oh yeah, people are unalived in there too. So my scary story about Vale, in high school, same group of people driving around in cars.
Who was this group? I want to be friends with this group of people that are doing all this fucked up spooky shit.
They're all married with families and like
boring.
Alyssa.
I love her though.
But okay, so we were both in. It was 2 cars, packed to the gills with teenagers. And I remember we would give our friend Zach $20 to fill his gas tank, and we would literally drive all night until like 6 a.m. But this one night we drove through Vale, and we both there's like a road through the middle of the cemetery, and we get to this spot that has like this industrial garage, and we park next to each other. Nobody's getting out of the car. Nobody would have even thought about getting out of the car there. But we roll our windows down to talk about like what our next move is going to be. And we roll the windows down. Nobody talks yet. And all of a sudden in those like industrial garages are, well, I think just big garages. I don't know if it's industrial, but it wasn't like a house garage. It was like a mechanic garage. We hear all these dogs barking inside. Like tons of dogs.
I just got chills.
I don't know like what was going on in there with the dogs.
Maybe they're dog fighting.
I hope not.
Not in the middle of a cemetery. That'd be kind of weird.
Oh, it's a good place to hide it. Anyways, that was
let's
like,
hope not. That took a sad turn.
Yeah, that was like 16 years ago. We probably should have told the cops about it, but whatever. Yeah, this was our 3rd episode, our spooky Halloween episode. So it will be coming out tomorrow, right before Halloween. So I hope everyone has a spooky Halloween.
If you guys want us to do the most haunted places in upstate New York and like read stories from like people's like experiences there, let us know because I want to do that.
We can probably find Reddit stories too of that, of like each place.
Yeah. We're gonna probably do it anyway, so
yeah. All right, guys,
have a happy Halloween.
Have a happy Halloween. And maybe you can treat us with a 5-star review
and a comment about how perfect we are. I love you.
Love you. Bye.